Hello, I'm Khary Frazier, founder of Detroit is Different. I'd like to thank you for checking out and tuning in to the 2023 State of Black Detroit. Who's afraid of a Black Detroit? This is an event run through Detroit is Different. Detroit is Different is a community group. It's also a community media hub, welcoming podcasts, video, and so much more. Even our wonderful events throughout the year, the Collard Green Cook-Off, the My Natural Hair Show, and so many other things like this here. This collaboration is a collaboration between Detroit is Different and Mama Akua House, community movement builders, but more so an extension of the friendship, bond, and relationship between myself and Yusef Bunchy Shakur. I should say Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur. We were actually the ones in 2009 that did the very last event at the Renaissance Club, atop the Renaissance Center. It was Kwanzaa at the Renaissance. And since then, we've done so many more things, so many other things. So we welcome you to meet so many of the other people that support community and a lot of the works connected to Detroit is Different, but connected to stronger works, not just in Detroit, not just in Michigan, even in the nation and even internationally. This will be a wonderful event to set the tone for you all to get practical solutions in ways that we're already engaging. Things that we've witnessed. And when we say who's afraid of a Black Detroit, it's more so dealing with everything we've dealt with, but ways we've overcome it. You're gonna get some different perspectives, but more so, you're gonna get what I call knowledge, AKA in the streets, the game on what you need to do. So with this, I want you to sit back and know it'll be powerful. If you like to give and get in a last minute donation for 2023 so you can get back some more money and support what we're doing, please make that donation to Detroit is Different Community Group, 501c3. This is going to be fun, and it's going to already start off with somebody that's so connected to community that you may not know, but I definitely know he's an entertainer.
Hey, this your boy Foolish, and it's the State of Black Detroit. Y'all better listen up.
So many things. Detroit justice definitely needed. Nancy Parker's in that role as an attorney, living in the community, family in the community, working in community, and it's so much that we can deal with just in the community when it comes to justice. So, without any further ado, Nancy Parker, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great, actually. Just being amongst all my people. It's Kwanzaa, Habari Gani.
Purpose.
I cannot complain. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm glad you were in town because first, I don't know when this text started, back in November or something. And it was like, all right. You was like, if I'm in town, I'm there. So I'm like, yes, you in town. And you in town. It was like, all right, I'm hoping there's no snow. And there's no snow on the ground, surprisingly, in the city of Detroit, which I'm sure next year we'll get some more environmental, which Piper could get that too. And we'll talk about that eventually when we get to it. But let's get into this Black justice and this work that you do. In what ways have you witnessed better relationships in our community strengthen our access to more equitable outcomes throughout the American justice system?
All right, so a deep question. And so first, I must start by explaining where I work and what I do. So I'm over at the Detroit Justice Center, and we are a PIC abolitionist organization. That means we are a prison industrial complex abolitionist organization. We are working alongside communities to address all the ills of mass incarceration while we tear down these death-making institutions, prisons, jails, ICE detention centers, policing, surveillance. Everything of that sort is a harmful, death-making institution that has been poured into us. And so we are trying to tear those down while we build up these new systems of being in relationship with one another. And so to have the privilege to live in the city of Detroit, the West Side, this is a great time. I mean, you see community here today, but I think folks have wised up, and you're no longer seeing the old guard, which was respectability politics, crabs in a barrel, individualism. You're seeing folks recognize and identify that we're dealing with systems of oppression, that we're dealing with institutions of oppression, And there is no individual failing that leads to one's demise. It is the system that is working exactly as intended that we must tear down. So, having that context, my good brother Khary asked me, how have us working together created more equitable outcomes for Black folks in America? That is, it's a trick question, because what you're seeing is that there have been some strides or some police officers convicted here and there, but all you're doing is continuing to drink the Kool-Aid by investing in that system. So the current system is not fair. While others call it the justice system, most folks who are steeped in this work, you hear us refer to it as the injustice system or the punishment system. We live in a punitive society. There's nothing rehabilitative about it. There's nothing redeemable about it. They are serving to throw people away, and specifically people that look like you and I. Black people, right? Poor people, brown people, people with deep chocolate skin. They hate us. My good sister Carolyn was up here talking about misogynoir and Black, anti-Black hate, right? Directed at women. They hate us. My being is a threat. And this is what we're fighting against. But the system that we have does not serve us. So if we continue to feed into it, at worst, we're trying to get blood from a stone. At best, we're dealing with a broken clock. It may be right 2 times a day. You may see a police officer who killed Tyree Nichols or who murdered Dante Wright. You may see some convictions and you may see people celebrating. You will not see me celebrating because we are only entrenching that system. What we must do as a people is identify that this is a harmful institution that does not serve us. So now what do? We must tear it down. We must think of alternative ways that we can support each other, that we can keep each other safe, that does not rely on these systems. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, how do we get change in this country? Change happens when the folks who are directly impacted, when we take collective action, when we lead our struggles, when we say enough is enough, when we flood the streets, when we make our demands known and clear, we articulate it with no uncertain terms. Once we do that, that's where we see power shift. All struggles are power struggles, and we are fighting for that power. And we get it once we come together. And so once we slowly take that power, we now have our own agency. And so, yes, in the city of Detroit, the Blackest city in this country, which we are proud to hold that honor, there are moments where we see this change. And I think you can even go back to the murder of Malice Green. Those police officers were convicted, and that was because you had Black activism. You had a group of people that were like, absolutely no, right? And so you get that conviction. But then throughout the years that follows, you get more Black people killed, and who are either killed by police, sentenced to death by incarceration for life terms, or if it's 20 years, but we can't survive because of all the health and systemic issues that are already killing us, right? So we have all these periods in between of dire situations. And then you can jump to the racial reckoning that so-called occurred in 2020 and 2021, right? But all of a sudden, because the killings, the lynchings of Black people is now televised with our cell phones. So they murdered George Floyd. And the sad part about it is we don't know how many George Floyd existed prior to what we witnessed, right? But because of that, everyone wants to prove that they're not racist. They want to prove that we're going to solve this racism issue. So they're going to flood money and they're going to all now say Black Lives Matter, right? And so we think that we're moving ahead because we are. Because for a period of time, we have come together. but it's fleeting for those who are not steeped in this work, for people who this is not cosplay, that I don't go home and take my skin off, that I can't say I'm tired. Today, I just want to chill. I have 2 little Black girls that the reason I'm in this work, this is life work. This is passionate work, just like all of these forefathers and foremothers that you see around this room. I do not have a choice. I am fighting for freedom so that my children can live and walk outside and my heart doesn't stop and wonder if they're going to come home to me in one piece. So everyone came together in this monumental moment, and we were able to do beautiful things here in the city of Detroit. Detroit Will Breathe led 100+ days of marches in the street in 2020. We had great organizations that were doing great work. We were making demands of the city, right? And followed that, you saw a lot of great organizing. Hakeem Littleton was murdered by DPD, execution style. And I think in any other time, if a young Black man shoots at the police officer, regardless of anything else, respectability politics, not wanting to buck anything, the majority of the people would have been like, well, my man's got what he deserved. And don't get me wrong, some people still had that, that chatter. But the majority of the people said, hold on, this is not right. We must fight for justice for Hakeem. So the Coalition for Police Transparency and Accountability, as well as community members, other folks, clearly Hakeem Littleton's family, came together. We put on a tribunal. We heard this young man's story. And what was it that led him to that point? We always just fixate on the pivotal moment, and we never look at the history. We never look at the years, the months, the decades of oppression. And I feel in that moment, we as a community in Detroit said, nah, we have to take a stand. And that was beautiful to be a part of and to witness. But we wrote to DOJ, we wrote to all this, we did all these things to try to get justice for his family. Although true justice, when a Black life is taken, would mean that life returns. And we know that's not possible. So what we're really fighting for is accountability for those who are committing harm. We really did not receive that. So what does that mean? Again, as a Black person with deep chocolate, beautiful skin that I love to wear every day, it means that to think that you can get equity, justice in a system that's in a country that the foundation of said country is white supremacy, you're looking for fool's gold. You will never receive that. This country was not made for you. And they tell us every day. That does not mean we keep fighting. That means we understand who our oppressors are. We understand who the forces against us are, and we band together and we get more justice, which we define what that looks like. I said, Habari Ghani, we are in Kwanzaa season. My favorite principle is Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. Self-determination in the criminal legal sphere means that we as Black folks, we demand our right to determine how it is that we live in our communities. And that means we define how we keep ourselves safe, how we attend to harm and violence. We do not have to use this white supremacy, patriarchy tools. We have our own tools.
I'm with it. I'm with it. And y'all see why Nancy be on it. I mean, I would say go back and definitely check so much of the work we've already done through the Detroit is Different archives. I mean, just so much information, what I'll call game on what it is. And if you watch Detroit is Different enough, I'm consistently saying and echoing a lot of what Nancy just said. The design of America is for white men with property and businesses. The further you go from that design, it's not necessarily functioning. But I love the way that she eloquently put it. It's about understanding, and then from that understanding, knowing how we move. So with that, What are practical actions people can take to empower our community towards better resolutions by engaging with this system, as you say, the American injustice system?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as much as I can talk ad nauseum about the ills and the corruption in this country, I'd rather talk about what it is that we can do,
Mhm.
what we should be doing, what we can build up, how we can transform how we live in this space, how we make it our own. Um, and the first thing I have to say is get organized. Get organized. You are in the space right now. Everyone here is here because you are called to a purpose to help free Black people. For we're all fighting for Black liberation, right? So we need to do that collectively, regardless of whether your skin looks like mine or not. Like Malcolm said, I'm with anybody who's for the liberation of Black folks. I don't care what you look like. So what does that mean? That means get organized. Join folks who were out in the community demanding change. You know, the handful of folks, just to name a few, that we work with specifically at the Detroit Justice Center. We work with Detroit Action. We work with Michigan Liberation. A lot of great orgs are out here, right? So join up, because these are the folks who are going to city council and demanding accountability from your electeds. One thing I want to say that I don't think a lot of folks speak on enough, and part of one of our major buckets of work at DJC is making sure folks have valid driver's license or state IDs, because this is your jury pool. This is where they are selecting people to be judge, to be jury and executioner, basically, of our people. So when folks are going on trial and they're supposed to be in front of a jury of their peers, many a times no one looks like them. And they're facing these unfair sentences. Again, unfair, but literally fair, because that's how the system is designed, right? So, folks, if you need help with your driver's license, if you got warrants, outstanding tickets, we know it's intentional. Again, it is not an individual failure. Get that out of your head. Everything that is happening to you is not in isolation to you. It is literally part of a system that is functioning as it's intended. But we need our brothers and sisters to have either state IDs or driver's licenses so you can be part of that jury pool. So you get organized, you get your L's, you attend and get educated in know your rights training, right? So you must understand your right before you can express it and enforce it. A lot of folks are walking deaf, dumb, and blind and don't realize it in 2023, going into 2024. And it is incumbent upon each and every one of us. But we must also each take individual accountability that I don't know what I don't know. So let me go to this workshop that's being put on, by this community group, so I can know my rights as it pertains to interactions with police, so I can understand my right as it pertains to land and my property taxes. And we see how they stole how many homes from people in Detroit. Once you understand what is yours innately, but also by being a resident in this land, you have the ability to enforce and keep what is yours so it is not taken from you. Get educated, right? Join Divest Invest campaigns. Divest Invest means that we are trying to shift funding and resources away from these carceral and death-making institutions that are killing us. So instead of giving DPD more money and tech tools and toys and militarized gear so that they can kill us and over criminalize our people, we need to shift those money and funds into organizations, community. You heard Brother Khary give a plug. If you got it, give to Detroit is different. They're doing the work of educating the people. Shameless plug. Give to the Detroit Justice Center. Give to anything that you are called to, because this is how we get free, by supporting our own, by coming to events, by getting educated, by holding people to account. As an abolitionist, I'll be remiss if I do not say, read up on abolitionist politics. A lot of folks may not like that terminology, and I don't need everybody to get to the freedom land. My sister Harriet Tubman did not free everybody, right? She only freed some, enough. I just need those who are willing, who are open, who know that they want something different. Come along with me. And if you can't get all the way to freedom, that's okay. Go as far as you can go. But guess what? I'm going to keep going.
And with that, you definitely giving game. I was thinking, I was like, let me get the information for the scroll up. Give some money. But it's more than that. And even sharing in these resources, as a lot of the principles in Nguzo Saba are real in empowerment and building, but sharing in these resources, that's why I'm so glad to build on this connection. And clearly we're gonna do some more content together.
Absolutely.
But what are some of the unforeseen challenges you have faced while working to empower this work for Black folks in this American injustice system?
I mean, I think a lot of the challenges are not per se unforeseen. Just the amount of trauma and terror that is out here that our people are dealing with on a consistent basis, trying to live while coming home and dealing with that heavy weight of, oh, I made it another day in a world that hates me, that is literally trying to take me out, right? But in terms of doing this work in community and maybe receiving resistance or pushback, I think the major things are, it's a product of white supremacy. Everything goes back to white supremacy and slavery, to be real with you. But people want a change. People know that the way that we're living is not it. But for me to come and have a conversation with them and say, you know what? I'm going to take away the only source that you have ever known that you were told was your safety, which is police and the policing system, the carceral state that we live in. I'm saying this is not serving you. It's not serving us. It has not served us for decades. Let's take it away and do something different. Now, people know it's not working, but where people are like, Nancy, I'm with you up until I can't give them every single answer for all the parade of horribles they want to throw at me, right? And so when you can't give someone an answer, it's as if they're like, nah, that's not it. And to that, I struggle because I'm like, I'm dumbfounded because I say it all the time. You know, the colloquial definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. And that is literally what we do in this country. But to have someone stand up and say, hey, let's try a different way. Let's throw away this thing and build up a better way of being in relationship with one another. Everyone's like, oh, that's a bridge too far. Let's give them body cameras so we can watch when they kill us. Let's ban certain weapons so then they can put us in a chokehold. Malice Green was beat to death with a flashlight. So y'all want to reform all the ways that they kill us. And I'm raising my hand saying, excuse me, I actually don't want to die. I want to live, right? And so it's the challenge really has been to engage in this thoughtful conversation with folks where you're not dismissing their apprehension, you're not dismissing their pain, you're not dismissing their trauma, but you just kind of want to shake them and say, but look, what we currently have is not working for you and I. Let's do something different. So I think just getting people to dream with that radical imagination that we do so beautifully at DJC, that we believe another way is possible because we're living embodiments of it. Our ancestors were born into the condition of slavery, where that was literally a fixed condition, but others were able to say, yeah, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it. I know this is literally all we have ever known, but this is not it. And there has to be something else. I take that legacy of fight and foresight to say the condition that we are currently inhabiting is not it. And I want to get to this abolitionist future where we keep each other safe, where we can say, okay, harm will occur because we are human beings. But when that harm occurs, How can we deal with it that centers humanity, dignity, love, care, that does not center punishment, right? And vindictiveness, but rehabilitation. And so what we're doing here is we're trying to dream bigger than what we can see. And that might be transformative justice, restorative justice, not locking someone away for decades because they made one horrible mistake, allowing people to have a second chance at life.
Hats cocked right, soldiers got my back. Plan in effect that we fight to the death. Got my black fist stuck, my black fist stuck. Got my black fist stuck, my black